But
Director Thomas,
Here.
Director Davidson.
Yes, I move. Accept them. Aye. Good afternoon, committee members. So yeah, we're here today to talk about the La Cantera sewer capacity fee update. We're bringing this back to the committee. We originally brought this in October last year, kind of based on some of the feedback. We made some corrections to some of the structure in there for the typo in the apartments versus townhomes. Then we also removed the area of benefit that was originally part of the capacity fee study for the North Vista Plaza development. And so we're proposing one capacity fee for the entire La Cantera service area. So we have Sean on the line. He was going to go through kind of the PowerPoint presentation, similar to the one we went through before, but if I could hand it over to him, we'd go through it.
thanks, Kevin. Good afternoon. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Well, as Kevin mentioned, once my screen shares here, I'll walk through the calculation and approach to establishing and updating the wastewater capacity charge for the La Contenta wastewater system. As mentioned, no major changes. Overall fee stayed the same as what we presented back in October, but we did update the tables for the implementation side of things. So I'll walk through what that calculation is, looking for that feedback from you all at the engineering committee, and then we can touch base on next steps and timing. And again, this is based on generally accepted methodologies, but it's tailored to your system and customer characteristics and the identified projects that are necessary to support growth in the La Contenta wastewater system. Just a reminder, the capacity charge is a charge to new customers connecting to the systems or existing customer upsizing their capacity. And it's based on the value of the capacity and the relation to how much capacity the customers use. Again, this is a policy discussion ultimately by the board to determine that ultimate level. We calculate the maximum fee allowable. And again, these are really in place to support growth and expansion related projects, in this case, in the La Contenta system. So this is the updated table that we had in error last time. So you can see here we have our single family, the mobile homes, townhomes, and condos all at the 0.70, and then apartments at 0.55, and then the accessory dwelling units, one per property up to 900 square feet at 0.55. And so then those are the current capacity charges. So this table was updated from what I had presented in October to you all. Again, remember the approach here is simply taking the value of the existing capacity, the red box here, divided by our total equivalent single family units. We add to that the future infrastructure and investment. So those additional capital improvement projects that were identified as part of the master plan, and the proportion that they are providing new or expanded capacity. And that's divided through by our future only equivalent single family units. And that makes up our maximum allowable charge. So again, we come back and take that original cost, bring it up to today's value, future capital plan, the proportion of growth, and then again, looking back at that available capacity and future total capacity that's necessary to provide service. So as we've gone through this, we've used the updated master plan as part of this. Provided us with the determination of a equivalent single-family unit. We have the current capital plan. There is no debt, so that is one area we focus on as we're putting the fees together, is the level of debt and what infrastructure that's funded. That is not part of this discussion. And again, besides meeting our generally accepted methodologies, we have to abide by California Code 66,000. And in summary, that's really saying the fee must be reasonably related to and attributable to the cost of infrastructure improvements made necessary to serve new development. So what is that infrastructure, the value of that, and the amount of capacity that that new development or customer is taking. For the primary change from the prior study for La Contenta wastewater is the additional future capital. In the master plan, it identified almost $36.5 million of future capital needs. Of that, 23.4 million is capacity related. So you can see the table at the bottom. A lot of wastewater treatment facility improvements. That's a key driver. You can see that total project cost in the first column of numbers. The percent capacity, that's the proportion of the percent of the project that's included within the fee. And then the total dollar amount on the right side that would be included in the calculation of the fee. Taking that total math, again, remember there's two pieces to this. The top half is the existing sewer system, $14.8 million in total cost in today's dollars, divided by the total ESFU served of 2580. That comes up with a fee of 5,757. We have no debt. The future 23 million divided by the 1,488 future that can be served by the capacity that's made available in the system by these new projects, that comes up at 15,737. We also do have the administration/operations building. That's something we talked about at the last meeting. That's being carried forward as part of this study and has been in the prior studies. That's $225 for a total fee of $21,719 per equivalent single-family unit. So putting that into that same table as what our calculated fee is going to be, again, increasing from 15,902 to 21,719 for a single family. Again, primary driver here is that future capital improvements that are identified that benefit new customers. And then for each of the different categories here, again, commercial is based on the district's demand table. So based on the impact they place on the system, a separate charge is calculated for them. So in summary, the capacity charge analysis provides that reasonable relationship between the impact of new growth on the system and the charge we've developed. It reflects an update to the current cost and value of capacity in the district La Contenta wastewater system. And again, this is the maximum calculated fee that can be implemented. Again, the district board could adopt something less than that, but that does imply a sharing of growth and expansion costs between new customers and existing customers. So with that, for our next steps is looking for any feedback and input, additional direction from the two of you on the engineering committee. We develop and finalize the analysis and the report, and then we'd be back to present that final recommendation to the board as we go forward. With that, I'll turn it back over to Kevin or the engineering committee for any questions.
I have a question. What is the gallon per day demand factor of the ESFU? How are we going to be charging?
So the commercial.
I'm pulling out my file, so Kevin, if you know off the top of your head.
Yeah, so the demand factor is based on the 195 gallons, dry weather. And then we do a fixture count when we base it on the fixture count. That's how we find out how many ESFUs are in the proposed development. And then we have every 2 years we can do a review of their account, see how their water consumption goes along with their sewer.
Yeah, Kevin, I have a couple of questions. On page 3, looking down that weighting factor column, I see that mobile homes, townhomes and stuff is 55.55%. And then accessory dwellings, a maximum of 900 feet. I mean, we haven't been, to my knowledge, we haven't been impacted too much yet on the ADU, this phenomenon of ADU. I thought originally when I first heard about this movement coming on that districts like ours were not going to be allowed to charge additional fees for an ADU on an existing parcel.
Yeah, we're going to bring that back to the engineering committee. We're exempt from some of those regulations that we talked about in the previous engineering committee as far as the ADUs. So there's some fine tuning that we need to do to that policy. We planned on bringing that back here. We have Matt Weber looking at reviewing it.
Okay.
But I think that going forward, our proposed policy will include being able to charge them that capacity fee.
Okay, and I'm just curious about why you've included this element that's in parentheses about 900 square foot maximum. It's been my experience in looking at some of these that have been built is that the client who's building it goes up to the maximum allowable, which is 1,200 square feet. So I'm curious about why we've.
Yeah. Currently, if it's over 900 square feet, then we consider it a separate dwelling unit. They'd get a new meter. That would be paying the full capacity. But like I said, we're going to review that here in the probably next engineering committee or the one after that to kind of fine tune what we want to do. But it'll be between 900 or 1,200. But when the policy officially changes, it'll go with whatever the policy is at that point.
Well, I'm a little bit.
You can take out if you're willing to, we can just maybe take out the parentheses on 900 square feet for now. And then as far as the capacity fee is concerned, then we'll go forward reviewing the ADU policy. Because currently our policy is 900 square feet. That's why this reflects 900 square feet.
I'm curious about that because it really seems to me like it ought to be more related to bedrooms. There's a lot of 1,200 square foot that house in Paris. That's all he built, probably 40 of them. And they're occupied by a family. The whole point of the ADU is supposed to be 1 or 2 bedroom max. That's a better method. We can do that.
Yeah, it's difficult. There's a lot of people that the bedrooms are kind of hard to define sometimes because
So county
there's a lot of
defines it
conversions.
if it has a closet.
That I think though we would have to look at all of our service areas, so that would be a more comprehensive change to how we structure these. I think we can absolutely look at that, but I think we would have to look at how we do that for every service.
Well, I don't want to get into political discussion here, but the objective in these ADUs or this phenomenon of the ADUs, in my mind, has been a way that the affordability factor for housing can be addressed without going out and buying a lot and paying all the associated fees that would go along with that. So are we not going to be sympathetic or buy into that philosophy? I'm just asking.
Yeah, I think we can talk about that as kind of a separate item. We planned on bringing that, and then we found some conflicts with the presentation we did previously since that was presented. So we're kind of revisiting that and kind of giving you, because the legislation's not written very clearly. One area it says one thing and one area it says another. There's some confusion on what applies to us and what doesn't that's why we have our legal counsel looking at it.
And to your point, Director Thomas, there is a difficult policy consideration there. One hand, absolutely support the effort to create more housing units and increase density. On the other hand, if we do this without making sure that water districts capacity is addressed, then that cost, we're just shifting that cost from one place to another, and the cost could end up on the district current ratepayers to increase capacity to serve those additional units. That additional density. So tough policy consideration.
Well, at one of the recent Aqua meetings, there were some examples given of what's happening in places like San Jose, that somebody has the ability to do an ADU, do a 1,200 square foot ADU in their backyard. Then they talk to a surveyor and they survey a flag lot and they sell that ADU for $1.3 million. So I don't know what that does to affordability.
I think there's some, like a rural counties like this, you are not able to subdivide like you can in some cities.
You aren't?
I don't believe so, not when you ADU.
I think the state law says we can.
Yeah.
I don't know that affects us. But they would end up with, do they get the same, they're gonna get the same bill?
Well, if it's a subdivided lot, then that issue, the issue I was just talking about is kind of addressed, because then the new lot would have to have water service and problem is if they're not creating a new lot and they're automatically allowed to add capacity or add demand without paying additional capacity, at some point somebody has to pay for that additional capacity. So that's the rub.
And one other potential source of confusion is if you look at the proposed capacity charge column on page 5. I know that the header here says present calculated wastewater capacity charge, but there's a kind of mixing apples and oranges there. That the 21,719 is where we're going, and these other apartment and condo and duplex, triplex condos they're at, I guess presently they're 70%, but in the calculation over here on present wastewater capacity charged by structures, the weight factor is 55%. Or I'm confusing myself here. That they've got mobile homes and townhomes in one level in that list, and then it flips. I forget what I said.
Yeah, just for your information, most of the apartments are master metered. We have in this county currently. We have the option to do individual meters. I think going forward, people will do individual meters because the state law now requires them to sub-meter apartments. So in the past, they haven't had to sub-meter; they could just flat rate everybody. So most of the apartments we currently have, they pay capacity fee on whatever size their master meter is. The apartments are going to be kind of a new thing going forward. The townhomes, like the Copper Development and Copper Town Square, those would be like townhomes that would pay the lesser amount.
No,
So my suggestion on the ADU issue would be that the recommendation I think is to move forward with this, but we need to take a look at that issue to make sure all of our interpretation.
okay. Well, I actually I do have one other question just for clarification. It shows that a duplex, triplex, or a condo is 0.70. So would 3 units collectively pay 70%, or do
No,
they pay
each one
each
pays
one?
70%. So they have their own meter.
All right. Anything else? Public comment on it?
So I'll just kind of go kind of a recap. So the maximum allowable based on the master plan calculation for the project cost analysis that Sean did was 21,719 per ESFU. We're currently at 15,902. That'd be a proposed increase of 5,817 per BDU. And that was more consistent with what we've been in the past in Lockington. In this last, the capacity fees several years ago, they lowered them down when the 8604 was taken out. And then we'll annually adjust these capacity fees on July 1st with the rest of them. So we do the ENR every year for construction cost increases. This looks at kind of paying growth for growth principle. Like the board has the discretion to adopt a value that's less than 21,000, not raise them at all. But it's staff's recommendation to raise it. We have a number of developments come in the area. And I think now's the time to make sure we got this number correct for the needs that we have right now. There's kind of a funding strategy. We're looking at a consolidation project that would consolidate treatment with Valley Springs Public Utilities District. That could potentially fund some of the very high cost projects from the Biolac and the pipeline to the lower pond. In that case, the additional capacity projects that happen after that, some of the lower costs. So there's a potential that if we are successful at those grant or loan applications, we could potentially lower this fee down in the future. So we're actively trying to minimize the impact to the current and future customers on that front. So looking for direction, and we have to publicly notice this in the newspaper. So if we get direction today, we can post that in the newspaper in time for one of the upcoming board meetings.
Oh, well. Gonna look bad with 30% increase. But the consequences. And also, I wanted to ask about the have a large subdivision that we've been talking to people, companies, 135 units.
We have there's the North Vista Plaza, which is 150 units. And then
LCI.
LGI, they're building kind of medium income type homes, starter homes. I mean, they call them starter homes, but they're probably only $500,000.
The concern that I have is talking to them. Us. Have they protected at the old rate or?
No, so they would pay whatever. We talked to them. They were here just a couple weeks ago. We let them know that we're looking at making sure that we're covered in these costs. So they're planning on moving ahead with the construction this year, along with the Jalen Elementary School. They'd be paying capacity fees also. And then we have other subdivisions that are ready for houses, the Gold Creek 3. I think they're trying to work some stuff out with the county. And then
Commercial center still.
yeah, the commercial center, we've heard some, I think they're trying to, the first phase of the commercial center is going to be a lot smaller than the whole build out. I think it's just a gas station, a fast food restaurant. But yeah, eventually that'll be, if they do what they're saying, there's going to be a lot of apartments and that type of stuff over there.
I think it's really important to be clear here that we don't have the capacity to support that unless start upgrading those facilities. That's why this is as hard as it is to raise the cost. That's why it's important.
Yeah, let's go for more.
I'm gonna probably have to pay one. I want to do it, but well, gotta be able to build it.
Yeah, and to Kevin's point, there's some scenarios where we can bring it back down, and we hope to be able to do that, but none of that, all of that's too uncertain, and we don't want to continue to add capacity, hoping that there's sources of funding that might come through projects.
I think we should. I know the things that we're working on to try to reduce it. I mean, significant if we could get. So,
Okay, well, you said we should adopt a recommendation or to accept it, or,
yeah, so,
right?
vote for them. All right. So done. All right then. Okay, you're still on, La Cantera wastewater treatment, ISMND.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you all.
Yeah, so this kind of ties into the project they were just talking about, the La Cantera wastewater treatment plant project. So this is, we're doing environmental studies there. We have a consultant, E-Corp, on board, and they're using the drawings that we have for the La Cantera project to do environmental studies. So they went out there and did site visits. They've done the technical review of all the documents that we have related to that project and the environmental studies. And they're finalizing the initial studies, mitigated negative declaration, or neg-dec, for this project. That'll look at kind of the environmental impact this project will have on the surrounding areas. We anticipate that they'll have that to us here within the next week or two. We've also sent out the tribal consultation letters, the AB 52, that we're required to by the state to notify them of the project. I don't think there's any known tribal in the area, so that's positive so far. It'll take about 2 weeks for us to review probably the ISMND. Then we have to post the ISMND on our website and other locations for 30 days, and that gets circulated. Then the public or other public agencies come back with comments on the ISMND. Then we'll incorporate those comments into the ISMND, and we'll decide if those comments they have impact or not to push the project to a higher level. We're also doing CEQA Plus, which is the federal cross-cutting requirements that you need for loans that have EPA money involved. So the Clean Water State Revolving Fund gets their money from the federal government. We're doing the CEQA Plus. So it's kind of a mini NEPA study on the site. So we have to look at federally endangered species, that type of stuff. Fill out a questionnaire on that. That's part of the scope that E-Corp's doing. Then we're also working with Valley Springs PUD on the scope of work that's involved in their work. So that'd be a rehabilitation into their collection system to minimize I&I, the pipelines that come from their treatment plant to ours, and then the decommissioning of their existing treatment plant. They've already done those studies years back, they had a plan to relocate their treatment plant. We think many of the studies they previously did would be applicable to this project. We're looking at making sure those ones are current and can be resubmitted for this project. So we don't expect any kind of major mitigation measures involved with this project. So I kind of want to get some direction from the engineering committee to I know we don't have the ISMND prepared for this engineering committee, but I wanted to bring you up to speed and let you know where we're at, and that we plan on posting the 30-day notice here in the next couple of weeks.
The area that is delineated, red boundary around it, that there, area that they're talking about.
Yes, yes, on your map, you can see that there's an area there, and the area on the, it would be the left, there's kind of a drying pond there right now. That'll be where the new Biolac lives. And then the red area going down the lower pond, the pipeline, the gravity pipeline that goes down lower pond too small. That's one of the bottlenecks of the treatment plant. We need to upsize that. That pipeline is kind of tricky because some areas 25 feet deep. So there can be some large equipment in there to dig. It all has to be gravity, so you have to have a constant slope. That's going to be a challenge. Probably one of the most challenging parts of that project. Get that pipeline in. Yeah, that's the project area.
So the old pipeline will be abandoned.
Yeah, so sections of the pipeline will be replaced in the same location. So we have the upper storage pond by Lock Antenna. It can hold some water when we take that line out of service for a short period of time. We can send the water to the upper pond, and we put a new pump station in the upper pond, recirculate the water back into the treatment plant. We can store water up there while you replace the pipeline in the same location. Other areas, the pipeline can live just above the existing. So it's a combination of replacing in the same trench and replacing above it.
Don't anticipate any, right?
Oh, yeah, we sent the letters out. We don't, yeah. What's that? I don't think our hit records show there. Probably isn't. But
Out by the river.
Anything else on that?
I know it's it.
Public comment? SA North Planning Design Tech.
It's a mouthful.
Pardon?
This whole new thing, it's a mouthful. So I just want to bring to light and discuss a new governing body. It's the California Underground Facilities Safe Excavation Board. It is separate from the Underground Service Board, North and Southern California agencies. And they have, so they were created, this governing body was created for the intended purpose to facilitate the expedient and efficient implementation of electrical infrastructure underground projects. So all that to be said is to help expedite a lot of the undergrounding of PG&E services. And it has pretty wide impacts, potentially to district. One of the, and also to, Kevin and I were discussing, he had mentioned that, so if it's for the express purpose of helping expedite PG&E and installing electrical lines, there have been years where our service area has been right as hotspot. That's going to impact us the most. What they're looking at doing is this, to create a new regional notification center. And so like underground service alert ticket process for excavation, they're going to have a similar process for the planning and treated, just going through and figuring out where facilities are and how to adequately design a project. The difficult part with this for us is to kind of discuss in greater detail is, although the government code was amended to include this new planning and design code, it's just a skeleton right now. There's no body yet. So I attended a workshop last week, and they wanted to ask a lot of questions again to get a feel from all ends of the spectrum. So from the developer to the operator being a district or some kind of public agency stakeholder. And I want to bring to light a couple of these questions, kind of discuss some of the discussions and questions that were raised during that workshop to kind of highlight implications that we might have to face. So talking about like existing tools, systems, software, or processes, and to help find these existing facilities for planning design. You have these developers are saying, well, we have survey paint, we have survey equipment, we have GIS mapping, And we should be able to provide GIS shape files, survey grade, build data, and as-built, as well as mobilize a crew to go pothole. Comes down to a time period once that ticket is submitted. That hasn't been determined yet, but it was often discussed around a 45-day period that once the ticket is submitted, that we should be able to go out, not only pothole, but also be able to acquire all this information that we don't have it. It's likely that when anybody were to pick a pin on a map and say we want to cross here or saw a line parallel to an existing facility, we likely do not have that level of information. So we will have to figure out and also speak up for districts of ours. If they have a large amount of work being done in a short period of time, to discuss, that's going to be a huge burden. Time cost. Have to dedicate a lot of staff time to not only mobilize, but also to pick up and also acquire all of this equipment, just survey equipment, accuracy. That what we have right now with the USA excavation tickets is, we're going out and marking, marking a line with paint, and we're expected to have within a degree of 24 inches of accuracy either side of that paint mark. That's this planning and design ticket process is they're kind of eluding that 24-inch plus minus error planning and designs. And it's really difficult for us planning and design because it's not clear as to when the project might actually break. Planning and designing a project might take years. Talk about the Arnold secondary clarifier. It might take years. For 10 years, I think, actually, from just starting the project. So for us to have to shuffle our efforts to jump on a project that could have a pretty wide scale and require quite a bit of effort for a project that might not take years, it's something that's going to be difficult. So actually, I did address quite a bit, a lot of the questions that were raised loosely, but I did want to, again, bring it to light to you guys that I would like to have the district continue to stay informed, continue to share findings with staff as well as the board, and try to help the this new big state board be aware of the type of constraints that a small district like us in an area that we're located, type of issues that they may not be aware. So with that, I'd like to open up to questions.
There are enough questions on this.
Yes, so a lot of questions, and the questions are certainly leaning towards a bias towards the developer or installer. And what's tough is a lot of these questions and responses from the big state board is alluding towards any liability, anything that's marked, located, or otherwise, a lot of the liability is likely going to be district. And for me, just thinking off the top of my head, it's going to be tough if there's a project in some rough terrain, which we have enough of, that doesn't already have access to it. You want to cross or install a line parallel to that. Just being able to get equipment to that space, find it. And we have a high risk of damaging it. You have a line that's already service downs, oil notices, just a lot higher risk. They have just the excavation. And also, actually, one big thing that I did not mention. Currently, the district handles 1,000 USA tickets. So one could assume that we're going to have actually twice. There was another district that was in this workshop discussing, planning and design to excavation tickets. They might see upwards of like 4x effort to go through and try to address line tickets. And to the degree of accuracy they're asking, which is, in the end of the day, it's just going to asking for effort, competing for the top priority for us. We have no.
And to that last point, I think that's well said. You know, we're developing our CIP update right now and having to wrestle with our bandwidth limitations, adding this to our own constraints, what we're able to do to support the district's infrastructure. This could be a significant additional work effort. Not only to do the work, but going to require upgrading our maps. It's going to require, a significant amount of prep work. So just that we can engage in this level.
So what's tough is that, we already are working towards, so we already see a value in having accurate maps. accurate GIS
Absolutely.
maps.
Yeah, good point.
And we're already working towards that. So what's tough is that, for something we're already working towards is to have a middleman now come in and mandate that to happen. Then also to
Faster than we
allow
to.
Yeah, and to allow an installer to more or less dictate that pace, not allow us. So another thing that's not mentioned. Thank you.
No,
Having some
you're
point.
nailing it. I'll just shut up.
So one big thing is anybody can turn in a USA ticket, and anyone can turn a USA ticket for excavation. So we all as members pay into this USA ticket process. Will help cover those costs. As of right now, the government code is written where whoever turns in a planning design ticket to be able to turn those in at no cost. However, the cost to go out and locate these facilities, depending on the scope, complexity, or geographical region, potential for certain planning design projects, the cost could be quite high. And who bears that cost? As of right now, it's going to be the stakeholder district. They're the public agencies. And the DigSafe board did bring that up and did pose the question to the crowd, and a number of people did ask or mention rather, what if DigSafe board were to implement a fee structure? And it's tough there because what was discussed then by the board chair was they would prefer to focus on scoping the complexity of the project, but really negate the geography. Because you can have a very simple project that can be very expensive to locate this accurately. That's just something, especially when it comes to ethics, start to bring it to light. You could have a simple job that might cost $10,000 to go locate a 2-inch line one location for the planning design process. Only then later to have, find out that whatever they were planning or designing, there's a conflict in application. They need more separation, whether they be running parallel or crossing under. They want to propose a new location. You're kind of starting that process over again. So that breadth of work, limits of the breadth of work and expectation. Get these facilities is unknown. However, as the end result, we will have pretty accurate maps. And we will have pretty accurate data for further things.
Make a really good point, because we wouldn't provide that kind of service to a developer for free. They would cover our cost for the engineering work to support their project. That seems to be a gap here. I can understand why the current policy for just locating, you want that to be free because you want to incentivize people to call in and mark, and it's protecting our existing infrastructure. But for this, this is not like your single family homeowner that is calling to dig to make sure they don't damage infrastructure when they plant a new fruit tree or big pool. These are large entities that have the resources to support the effort. Should cover that.
Right. Right, because like you mentioned, when you already have current, so in a perfect world, whenever a developer or anybody is looking at doing some work around facilities, they would already contact without the need to turn in a planning. That communication should already start. So it's going to be interesting at how this will be implemented. What I'm really interested in is want to maintain district's ability to protect its facilities and also help dictate its. This planning design taker process has the implications. It's not certain yet because skeleton, the body hasn't quite yet filled out. That it really seems to put the teeth into the developer and takes it.
One of what I understood you said still will be difficult. All in tickets for metal.
Yes, you will still have the USA, in this case, USA North for an excavation. That will remain in place. So this is a separate new governing body that's then going to have a process similar to this.
Dalton set of plans, project starting early in the deep in the city, instead of pull out, it would locate some sort of water through our lines and stuff.
It was unknown at the time, when the planning design ticket should be required to be. So you have, you could have issues that could be resolved early on. But also, it was discussed, if you are 3 months away from having 100% design plans, that when you actually fall in ticket. Me having designed many different plans, I would not want to wait till the 3 month period to find that I have to do design. So I imagine it much further out. Obviously, in an ideal world, sometimes you don't have that much time. Well, obviously, plans they've done. In this case, again, for the express purpose of helping PG&E expedite the process to underground electrical lines, 3 months might actually be for us instead of having them like a design ticket. And now you have essentially two. Who knows the level of complexity or metal work that they help unearth.
Okay, well, you frequently see pictures of water lines or dark crossing over dark high voltage lines that are in the same ditch, particularly at Poker Flat. So is this going to be a situation where our methodology is going to have to change in Poker Flat? Because we've still got a lot of main lines in that area to locate and patch. And is this going to complicate things for us?
Thing on top of my head, one way you could get the urgency to have to go through and pothole to give exact locations that require greater distance, greater separation. And haven't put as much effort.
Which in that case, we wouldn't allow that to happen in a new install now anyways. And that, I don't think this will directly affect that effort because that's, in that case, that's our project. Having to be very careful. This is more where utility developer or, proposing a project that could impact our but we happen to have the chair of the Aqua Energy Committee, Aqua Board member. And I'm just wondering, I mean, this kind of flew below the radar, at least my radar. And I don't know, in terms of advocacy, not really specifically an energy issue, but it has a lot to do with relationships with utilities. Maybe it's energy committee or local government committee and counties. Just wondering where we can push back on this, and if it's just in terms of, and Chase, your thoughts on this would be great too, in terms of how we advocate for water agencies' interests. Focus on that cost issue. Seems like the ship has sailed that have yet another government entity regulating us in California. But do we just prioritize cost recovery? what might be the right or the most effective way to do that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's kind of, I would want to advocate for your, if the governing body's not doing something that we just have to, is to have a reasonable rate structure. And I would like to see the rate structure, you have more freedom, you have the district to have more freedoms to structure that, not have it be as an automated check the box from a center that isn't, it's wide ranging from high density urban areas to very sparse, very geographically challenging areas. Those costs for unearthing, say, 2-inch line, locating a mile of line, those costs can be widely varied and not really parallel with one another. Ideally, I would like to have for us to be able to make our voice, maintain that control to get
Yeah, so if they can fund a GIS tech and another engineering tech, then we'll get right on it.
Accurate planning phase.
Right.
They already know where everything is. So I did reach out to Nick at Aqua. So he's the legislative liaison for the energy, water quality, and water management, I think. And this was totally under his radar. He was, can you expand on this? And I think part of the reason is if you look at the legislation that this was a part of, it's all wildfire. Senate Bill 55, wildfire. And you get to the bottom, and there's this, let's expedite underground projects by creating planning wing of underground service alerts to facilitate the installation of underground records. And so I also reached out to Justin at Mountain Counties and said, hey, are you following this? Because if you look at that legislation, it's literally one paragraph that is kind of directing this new USA board or USA board. The governor appoints the director of. So I'm assuming it's somewhat similar to CARB, that a governor appointed director with perhaps county supervisors or other folks that sit on this board. And they're going to weigh in on this. And I think Kelly Z brought up a great point back in the room, is that this perhaps is one of those opportunities that folks that want to help can write letters to their legislators, kind of talking about, we have yet another piece of legislation that is going to, yeah, exactly. And so Nick is on it now, so more updates to come, but I would imagine, Chase, we have, what, a year to kind of see how this starts to shake out into some form of regulation.
Yeah, so this government code is looking at being implemented on or before July 1st, 2027. A bit of over a year for all of it.
Stuff, Chase. Thank you.
Next time, come back with some answers to those questions.
Okay, we'll go to electrical standards updates. On.
Good afternoon, directors. My name is Juan, associate engineer, and I'll be going over some of the proposed design and construction standards updates. So the district currently has very limited guidance and specifications when it comes to electrical and SCADA systems, without clearly adopted any standards. Developer projects and capital improvement projects can result in inconsistencies for the equipment, as well as integration challenges, and ultimately the design approach can vary from system to system. Adopting electrical SCADA standards will ensure the facilities turnover to the district will perform as designed and will be safe and will integrate with our existing equipment. Additionally, these standards will help us, the engineering department, be able to overview and quickly review proposed equipment, because being electrical standards our qualifications are more with the infrastructure, water, not so much with electrical. So this will speed up the process. So to accomplish this, the district has engaged a team electrical design engineers for their services for updating or actually creating electrical design and construction standards. A team is highly familiar with the district facilities and operational needs and has successfully designed and integrated many of our systems for multiple projects. Some of the key benefits of doing this standards update will be to reduce the review delays, outside consulting costs for routine electrical work. It also will allow CCWD standards and control site requirements to be passed on to developers for more consistent. Also will ensure uniformity and structure across all service areas. It will support operator training and operational consistency. And I think most importantly, it's going to ensure compliance with current electrical codes and industry best practices. Some of the scope this updates will include will be updating electrical codes and district design standards and define electrical engineering responsibilities, specify power supply requirements, standardized motor control centers, electrical panels, and instrumentations. It will also update PLCs and SCADA and communication standards. It will define grinding, lining protection, wiring, conduit installation, and testing requirements. It will establish pump control strategies, and it will we will have like a standard drawing, so it will include 22 electrical standard drawings that we can implement, move it into our current standards, as well as specifications, costs, estimates, and operator training material. Once the work is completed, the staff will put the new updated electrical standards into our current design and construction standards, and then we'll bring it to the board for adoption. Financial consideration, this will be, we have, it's under the engineering department budget, there's standards updates, and the total cost for A team to do this project will be $36,000, $36,160. And the project is anticipated to be completed in this fiscal year. June. Any questions?
Sounds like a good idea to me. Says that you've worked with A-Team before.
Yes, yes. They have integrated many of our systems, and they know our facilities really well.
Thank you.
One.
All right, district property updates.
Good afternoon, directors. So if you recall, last budget cycle allocated $200,000 to rehabilitate two buildings in Copperopolis. One was the original raw water pump station, and one was the treatment facility. So we're kind of at a decision point now where we'd like feedback from y'all. So this is the old raw water pump station. We had pumps in the bottom of it. We had analytical equipment inside the office. We've cleaned all of that out. We've got to this point now where we received quotes from contractors to replace all the siding, install flooring, do all kinds of work, and they're exceeding $100,000 for each of the buildings. And so, you know, Michael and I were talking about this, and one of the thoughts is with the buildings essentially cleaned out, particularly this raw water pump station, perhaps this is an opportunity to reach out to folks that were interested in utilizing the building now as is. Hey, we have this building. All of the pumps and electrical infrastructure have been removed. It's here for you. It's not the prettiest. Do you guys want it? Use it? So that brings up the question, do you sell the parcel or do you want to just lease the building? And then the other option is we continue with the funded money or budgeted money that we have and install flooring, paint, fix the siding with just the understanding that pushing out, the quotes for the contractor to do work at prevailing wages probably. This is the raw building. And this is the backside. We have quotes for all of the repairing the drywall on the inside, paint, siding, windows, and then the old water treatment plant building is very small, right? So this is the outside looking towards the pressure vessel. We're going to remove that pressure vessel as part of this work effort, part of that budgeted money. And we removed all the piping from inside the building that connected to the pressure vessel on the outside. And we've disconnected the treatment plant from the potable system. If you guys remember, some time ago, it was still hydraulically connected to the B tank in the B zone. So that's all been disconnected. So the thought here is we could reach out to the fire department, see if this is a building that they might want to do a training burn on. I don't know if it's too close to other homes in the neighborhood, or we could just look at potentially just raising and getting rid of the building. So there's that. Here you can see that we've disconnected the pressure vessel from the outside of the building. That just would love some feedback from y'all.
Like to me that we could substantially reduce space if we move our water treatment back into that.
Yeah, put it right by the lake. Right. Yeah.
How long ago was that building abandoned?
I would say mid 80s, early to mid 80s.
Why is this coming to us?
We just want feedback from you guys.
There
That was an ad hoc committee that had kind of run its course, and then the follow up after at the last meeting of that ad hoc committee, we decided, there are still a few follow up items.
so do we have to surplus these? Go through that.
Well, so if we were going to sell the parcel, I think that's a different consideration. But I think if we were going to just allow the HOA who's requested using the building in the past to use it and to clean it up as they see fit, I think that different, maybe a little more streamlined.
Seems to me like it'd be cleaner to just surplus it and get it off, put it on the market and get it off our books.
Let them decide what they. I'd favor that. Doesn't really matter. I don't think we're gonna get a lot of rent out of it. But.
There's a slide that shows equipment stuff still remaining lower area. But what are those mean?
Those are associated with chlorination. There's a kind of a hatch in the upper floor, drop cylinders down into those. Disinfection.
So in your mind, are we through?
Well, I mean, I think kind of the point is we could continue to throw money at these things only to end up potentially surplusing them in the future and
we could rebuild them to needed to. I mean, we don't a lot of money for a little crappy building.
Right. Yeah.
That's simple.
Yes.
You don't have a use for them?
I can see a board member saying, yeah, we like to have a building over these chlorination.
Those are gone. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Summer is coming, they may have some issues about access controlled, limited. So just Do it, huh? You get out of here?
I don't want to be talking about this anymore.
Well, you talk about stuff in your district all the time. Give me a chance to verbalize it.
Everything that costs a lot of money.
So, this pressure vessel that's the old water treatment. Pull that into the lake or what?
Yeah, that's going to be cut up and taken out. Yep. So we had we were kind of in a wait and see mode on what to do with the vessel because we were trying to determine if we take one of the filters at copper, which would have allowed us to take advantage of whatever crew was going to do that work to come over to pull the media out. That's not going to happen. So we're now moving towards taking all the media out. We'll get that vessel cut up and moved, and it'll just be that little building.
Did you burn one up? Or?
We burned the plastic inside of it.
All right, so are we agreed?
Okay, great. And then real quick, speaking of under the theme of surplus, we have 7 acres of property at our Arnold wastewater treatment facility that we would like to surplus. So the image on the left is our approximately 100 acre parcel up near Avery off of Highway 4, and then the very well drawn red line image on the right, 7 acres of property that we like to surplus.
What's the reason we're doing that?
There's a neighboring property owner that would like to make use of the property. So in order to allow that to happen, we have to
Surplus policy.
Yep, exactly.
Sorry, did you say 7 acres?
Yeah,
I thought we had downsized it.
yeah, we had, and then they came back with a request to upsize it.
Well, so one way or another, the request would be we bring this back to the full board or add it to a surplus for
Signed by me and Russ as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Daddy.
All right, project updates. Are there any, do you have any questions of any of these projects?
Yeah.
I want
May I ask the question first?
checking. There's a lot of iron in that building. Sell that, scrap it out.
Well, good afternoon again, directors. One associate engineer. So, this picture was taken at the B-Tank Jenny-Lin.
How did they stencil that Cobelco backwards on?
A very creative.
Creative.
No, that was me. I flipped the image so I can look good. Power of AI. So, Jenny-Lin, right now we are changing services or adding and replacing service lines, our Vixen. Once it's done, the PRVs are going to be put into place or connected to the system. The system will be, different sections will be isolated, so any pressure issues be resolved. If there are any. And then after that, road paving and road restoration is going to take place. This next is West Point and Westville. This is completely done. Staff is actually doing the project close up with the state water boards, and we have 6 months to amend the permit. Upper Cove, wastewater treatment plant, SAF, and Pond 6 enlargement. So the delivery of the SAF is scheduled for middle of April, and we are currently procuring materials, being the plumbing and the electrical, to be able to hook up the SAF. The letter report, the Army Corps is updating the letter report. There, they're gonna clarify if the tertiary treatment plan going to be built ahead of the Pond 6 enlargement. Copper Cove sea transmission line, I believe from Sea Tank to Little John has been completed, and the work now has moved Little John starting from the treatment plant by Kiva. West Point water supply drop project, we are waiting on FEMA. We pretty much completed phase 1 submittal, which included environmental documents, 60% design and permitting. Cal has approved it and they forwarded to FEMA, but might be close to a year and a half before they approve us construction. Tiktaalik Intertie project. This by the end of this week, we should be getting bed set drawings from Verdantes. We are currently scheduled for a summer. Construction bidding anticipated for summer 2026. Huckleberry Lift Station, this has been 100% signed. Construction bid, Sequoia Axle has been completed. Construction will proceed once funding is available. Hopefully, it's coming up in grants application. I content the bio-like clarifier, as Kevin mentioned, E-Corp is consultant is completing environmental design. We expect an ISAMD. And once we clear that, we're going to move to the final 100% design. And construction is going to be pending on grant. Eves Pass master plan and hydraulic model. The hydraulic model is near completion, and a draft hydraulic model is anticipated to be presented to us within the next couple of weeks. Sawmill Wallens tank replacements. This is Sawmill forward, and this is Wallace tank. So the notice of proceeding has been issued. Tank material procurement has been initiated. District staff is currently reviewing submittals. The formal kickoff meeting is anticipated the next week or two. Arnold's sewer master plan. Due to the storms, some of the deployment for the sensors, for the flow sensors was delayed, but I believe they're doing that this week. Plan is to drop 8, I believe, sensors. That's to get an accurate study of the inflows for I&I and lift station time. Arnold Sewer Secondary Clarifier Improvement Project. This one is another project that is the kickoff, the construction kickoff meeting anticipated in a couple of weeks. Final documentations for the USDA spending, and upon receiving those documents, the contract will proceed with mobilization. Good. All right, questions?
Thanks, Juan.
Comments?
I'll save my comments for tomorrow's board meeting.
I just want you to be kinder.
That's it. Ending that way. Okay, that's meeting.
Hmm.
Sure. Oh. Thank you, everybody.